Welcome, Mavel. How are you doing this week? You're connecting to audio. And Anil and Mavel, how are you guys doing this week? So now we are in week 4, and the only thing you have to do this week is your week 4 rough draft. So is everybody done with their week 4 rough draft? Was it easy to do your week 4 rough draft?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Was it fun to do your week 4 rough draft?
Yeah, it was.
Actually, it was. What about you, Candace? Was it fun to do your week 4 rough draft?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it.
Okay, how about you, Mavel? Did you enjoy doing your week 4 rough draft? Guess you could be still, she's still connecting to audio. All right. So as soon as you connect to audio, you can respond to that. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I am going to go over the week 5 quiz prep in this video. I'm also going to give a short lecture on APA because for your essay 2, the one starting in week 7, you are going to be required to have an APA in-text citation. And so I'm going to start right away before everybody gets Zoom fatigue. That's what everybody gets in Zoom. So you got to always start right away. Okay, dig my my picture. I love doing these Bitmoji pictures. All right, so let's start with the week 5. So we're going to be doing the week 5 quiz prep, week 5 practice quiz. We're going to go over very briefly the week 5 peer review because I already went over what is peer review, so that's only going to take 2 minutes. Then I'm going to go over the week 4 rough draft assignment. So that's what we're going to go over in this particular lecture. All right, so let's get into it. Week 5 quiz prep. So the week 5 quiz emphasizes punctuation and mechanics. And so here we're going to review grammar rules regarding punctuation and mechanics. And so the first 2 rules you're going to have to learn that you probably already know is use quotation marks around dialogue. You need a beginning quotation mark and an ending quotation mark around dialogue. Use italics around movie titles, book titles, or any other title, like a magazine title. Titles always need to be italicized. If they are not italicized, then the sentence is incorrect. So you need to remember these first 2 rules because a lot of the questions on this particular quiz has to do with quotation marks and italicized stuff. So use quotation marks for dialogue. Quotation marks are used to quote dialogue. You must use both beginning and ending quotation mark. So it's wrong if you just say, John says, Michael is here. Here you have a beginning quotation mark, but you're missing an ending quotation mark. So that's wrong. And then here it's wrong because you're missing a beginning quotation mark. So it's correct if you have a beginning quotation mark and an ending quotation mark in your sentence. Also, you need a comma after the word says. So John says, comma, quotation, Michael is here, period, quotation mark. So here is a typical quiz question. Is this a correct or incorrect sentence? Is there a missing quotation mark? And so which one is the correct sentence? Is it A, B, or C? And then of course, I already gave you the answer, C. Why is C the correct answer? And why are A and B wrong? Mavel. Why is C the correct answer? And why is A and B the incorrect answers? Oh, I can't hear you. Can you, still can't hear you. Okay.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So
I'm reading, which is the correct. About Martha claims George is home.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has the quotation, quotation mark is complete, it's open and it's closed, and the other you have it in missing in the first one. The B is missing at the end.
Excellent. And
Okay.
C is correct because it's got both, right. And so
Both,
A
yeah.
and B, correct. You did a great job. So here it's missing one over here, and here it's missing. It's very easy to see it when I point it out. But once you see it on the quiz, I notice people start to get confused again, even though they know that the rule. So Martha claims George is home. You've got the beginning quotation mark and the ending quotation mark. And so you must have quotation marks around both sides of your quotation. Here are some actual quiz questions. Why are these sentences wrong? In Jason Bourne, that's the name of a movie, Nikki Parson cryptically tells Jason, remembering everything doesn't mean you know everything. And so here, this one is wrong because it's missing the ending quotation mark here. So here you've got the beginning quotation mark, it's missing this one. This one, there are no quotation marks. It's just missing here and missing here. And therefore the correct answer is in Jason Bourne, Nikki Parsons cryptically tells Jason, and here you have a quotation mark over here and a quotation mark over here. So remembering everything doesn't mean you know everything. So as long as you see the two quotation marks, then that's the correct sentence.
When we wanna use the quotation mark, just when we're talking.
Talking, yes. And so if I want to say, okay, let's give an example. Mavel says, when do we use quotation marks? Is it used for talking? That was exactly what you said. And then you were talking, and now you're using quotation marks. So now you hear it, see it, feel it, you experience it. And so here, this is correct because you have a comma here, you have a beginning quotation mark, you have an ending quotation mark, and whenever somebody says something, or you want to say something in your composition, and also remember for your narrative, for this essay, you need to include dialogue in your essay 1. So when you include dialogue, you have to have a beginning quotation mark and an ending quotation mark. And so here is another question from your quiz. My dad's favorite saying is, don't pull tomorrow's cloud over today's sunshine. Where is the missing quotation mark? So here you have a quotation mark after the word sunshine. Where do we need the other quotation mark to be? Anybody?
But don't.
Before the word don't. So when it's going to have one of the before don't, so that's the correct answer. So then if I put the quotation mark over here, now it's totally correct. My dad's favorite saying is, okay? My dad's favorite saying is, don't worry, live happy, or something like that. Always be happy, that's it. So, does everyone understand the first quotation, the first rule is you got to have both quotation marks around what people are saying. That's good, right? That's the first rule. Next rule, you need to put italics. Oh, here's another, and this needs to be, okay, you need quotation marks and you need italics. So this is the correct sentence. Find a truly original idea. It is the only way I will ever distinguish myself. It is the only way I will ever matter. John Nash moans in A Beautiful Mind. Is this a correct or incorrect sentence? That would be that's how they would ask it in the quiz. And the answer is it's correct because you have both quotation marks around the dialogue and A Beautiful Mind is italicized, okay? And because that's the name of a movie, it was a great movie, by the way, and it was about a mathematician named John Nash. It's based on a true story. Now, if I take away let's see if I do this right. If I take it away and I just write A Beautiful Mind. I think I spelled that wrong. Beautiful. Yeah, anyway, I know I spelled that wrong, but you get the idea. So if I wrote A Beautiful Mind without the italics, okay, and I just have it like this, then the answer would be it's incorrect. So you always have to italicize movie titles, book titles, and when you write your APA, you also have to italicize the article name after you write the author name, the date, and when you write the article name, you also have to italicize the title. And so you always put italics around titles. Why is there around and around? Okay. I saw a movie named Gone with two words, the wind. And so that's correct because used to be you would put underline. You would underline a title. So if you look at older books, at the end of older books, because this is a relatively new rule, if you look at older books, they're going to have their titles underlined instead of italicized. But because everybody now, if you see something underlined online, you think it's a link. So you can't have everything underlined anymore. So now that's why titles are now italicized. That's why they made the change, because links. If I were to write something like Gone with the Wind, and I was to make it underlined like this, aren't you going to think you can click on it? Hey, I'm not going anywhere. What's going on? Stuff like that. So these days we cannot have it underlined anymore. So then they changed, APA changed it to italics. So let's get rid of the italics. So I saw a movie named Gone with the Wind, and it's incorrect because this is not italicized. So here would be on your quiz, what is wrong with these sentences? Emily Blunt's character in The Devil Wears Prada explains, I'm just one stomach flu away from my goal weight. And so here, this is correct, so the dialogue is totally correct. But then here, The Devil Wears Prada. So The Devil Wears Prada needs to be italicized. And because The Devil Wears Prada is not italicized, this is not a correct sentence. Here, Emily Blunt's character, here, once again, same thing. The movie title is not italicized, and we're missing a beginning quotation mark. So for that reason, these are both incorrect. So that the correct answer would be Emily Blunt's character. If I was to write down Emily, if I was to do this, okay, I italicize it, I italicize this, and then I put in the quotation mark, like then it's totally, there's still a mistake. What other mistake did I leave out? Okay, I'll let you correct it.
The one at the end.
The one at the end, excellent. All right, so here I almost got away with that. Now it's correct. So you have to be very careful in looking at, so this is correct. I'm going to write in correct. Anyway, so that's what's correct. So here, quiz question. Oh, so this is the actual quiz question. Select the sentence that puts the quotation marks in the proper place. Is it A, B, or C?
A.
Yes, it's A. So the quotation marks, but there's still a mistake with okay, here. So this one, even though this has to be corrected, okay? So in order for this to be correct, yeah. So I don't know if there's a D. None of the above. Okay, sorry about that. The reason why none of the above is correct is because The Devil Wears Prada, The Devil Wears Prada, there are no italicized. None of these are correct because in all of these sentences, The Devil Wears Prada is not italicized. Remember, the correct answer is you have to have italicized movie titles. Did you watch the movie, The Devil Wears Prada?
Yes, but it doesn't say anything about italicized. It says where the quotation marks in the proper place.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's kind of whatchamacallit. We'll take a look at this in the practice quiz. But let's just practice with this, and we could play around with it. Or I could say, is this which of these sentences are correct? Okay, that's a better one. Which of these sentences are correct? Okay, that's a better one. Which of these sentences are correct? A, B, or C, or D? None of the above. Sorry, D didn't show up on this page. I guess what I should have done was something like this. Yeah, that's it. I was supposed to make sure that occurred. Yeah, that's much more like it. So which of these sentences are correct? And then we get none of the above. This is just a practice, but you get the idea of how this works. It's just that when you do the quiz, you have to make sure that the movie title is italicized, and you got to make sure that there's a beginning quotation mark and there's an ending quotation mark. So this just gets you used to what it is you got to look for and do when you take the quiz. Is you got to be very sharp in order to follow the rules. So what were the 2 rules that we just went over? Lisa, what are the 2 grammar rules we've gone over so far?
The quotation marks around quotes or things people say, and then the italicize of books or titles.
Yeah, actually the grammar rules are very simple. It's just that you have to be a hawk of an eye to make sure when you look at the quiz which one they did correctly and which one they didn't. And this is very similar to when I have to grade your papers. Although I've graded so many papers that I don't have to make an effort to actually see mistakes anymore, since everybody makes the same mistakes over and over and over again. And also if you're an editor of a newspaper, you get so used to it. All right, the next thing is going to be singular versus plural subjects. We did this in quiz 1, I think. So a plural subject is when you have more than one coat. If you just have one coat, that's a singular subject. If you have many coats, that's a plural subject. And so when you have a plural subject, it takes a plural verb. And so here, which one is a plural subject? Is it coats or coat?
Coats.
Yeah, this is too easy. Okay, I'm going to assume everyone knows this, and I'm going to move right on. Any questions? No. Capitalization. So you want to capitalize famous names and titles, and we always capitalize proper nouns. What is a proper noun? Let's review. That's definitely from week 1. What's the difference between Aunt Janet and my aunt? What's a proper noun?
Janet.
Janet, it's any kind of name. This is first grade, in case you're wondering. So here you're going to have stuff like the French people live in France. So here the F is in nationality, so you always have to capitalize nationalities, titles, and ethnicities. And the correct answer is the French people live in France. Uncle Bob, and so you have to capitalize proper names like Uncle Bob and places. You have to capitalize titles like President Lincoln is the 16th U.S. president. And you don't have to capitalize if it's just a regular noun. My uncle lives in Kansas. And if you're in the forums, I still see people writing their I. You have to capitalize your I. And so let's get into, is this a correct or incorrect sentence? A slightly more peaceful France was restored when Napoleon Bonaparte rose to power in 1799. I do believe that is a quiz question. So is this correct or incorrect? Are there any mistakes in that sentence? Lisa, are there any mistakes in that sentence?
I
Grandma is
don't,
capitalized.
I don't see any because Napoleon Bonaparte's capitalized. 1779 doesn't matter. France is capitalized.
Excellent. It's completely correct. It's completely correct. What about the grandchildren show great respect for Grandma Janet? Candace, is this a correct sentence?
I don't think the G has to be capitalized. In grandma?
Grandma.
It does because grandma is her name, Grandma Janet. So G has to be capitalized.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent. So if I say, my grandma is great, her name is Grandma Nay. Actually, that was the name of my grandmother. So my grandmother, was great. Okay, my grandma was great. Her name was, okay. So you notice that when it's just my grandma, my aunt, my uncle, you don't have to capitalize it. But if you stick a name like Aunt Janet, Uncle Janet, Grandpa or Grandma Janet, or in my case, Grandma Nene, then you have to capitalize it. Then it becomes any kind of title. So then as soon as you turn a word into a title, like President Nixon, or King James, or Grandma Nene becomes a title, then you capitalize. You got to think of it like that. Think of it as a title. I love my Uncle Bob. He always makes me laugh. So here this is the same thing. Uncle Bob, this is incorrect. And so Uncle Bob has to be capitalized because Uncle is like King James. It's some kind of title. And you always have to capitalize countries of names, titles, and capitalize when you talk about yourself. When I miss the bus, I call for a taxi instead. Now, in your opinion, which sentence, let me see. Oh, is this a correct sentence? However, he quickly declared himself Emperor Napoleon I, and in 1812 led a French invasion of Russia. So, is this a correct sentence, first of all?
No.
No. Where's the
Emperor.
mistake?
Emperor has to cap-
Emperor, excellent. Yes, this has to be capitalized because it's somebody's name, and everything else, like French and the beginning of the sentence, has already been capitalized. Here, and this one says it. Okay, the French invasion was not a success, so that's why this sentence is wrong. And so here, I think this is supposed to be one whole question. I was supposed to have taken care of this. Beautiful. In your opinion, which sentence shows proper capitalization? A, B, C, or D? Or none of the above? This is an actual question on the quiz.
So none of them.
Excellent. None of them. Because this one needs to be capitalized, and in this one, Emperor needs to be capitalized, and C is the worst. Everything needs to be capitalized. Emperor, Napoleon, and French. Everything needs to be capitalized. So the answer becomes none of the above. Did everybody get that? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
What is wrong with these sentences? President Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. What's wrong with that sentence? Although it says so right there. Anybody?
Nothing wrong with the first one.
16th.
Oh, the president. P.
President is
President.
capitalized.
President.
Yes. So here,
And-
this needs to be capitalized with the 16th president, because 16th president, 41st president, 32nd president, that it's considered a title. That's why you hear the newscasters say President 45, which is Trump. President 40, is that right? Yeah. Anyway, President such and such. Anyway, so 16th president has to be capitalized. And then this one, what's wrong with this sentence? President Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president of the United States.
The same
President
thing.
isn't
Same
capitalized.
thing, yeah, same thing. So you need to capitalize because it's the beginning of a sentence. So that's what's wrong with these sentences. And then the correct sentence would be C-R-O-O-E. President Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. And United States also has to be capitalized. All right, so that's it for capitalization. And here I will make this go up. All right, so does anybody have any questions about capitalization? Okay. Comma usage and the dependent clause. When a dependent clause comes, what is a dependent clause, first of all? What's a dependent clause? A dependent clause is when you have an incomplete sentence or a sentence fragment. Like if I say, if I go for a walk, when I come home. You notice you need another sentence to complete the thought, right? So that's a sentence fragment. That's a dependent clause because that clause is dependent on an independent clause in order for the whole sentence to be complete. We're going to study this a lot more detail in week 7 quiz. But right now you just have to know that dependent clause is an incomplete sentence. So when that incomplete sentence comes at the beginning of a sentence, it needs a comma. And so here you would say, if John goes to the store, when John goes to the store, comma, he always takes his wallet and keys. And these days he's got to take his mask. So when John goes to the store, comma, he has to wear a mask. So that would be, but when a dependent clause comes at the end of a sentence, you do not need a comma. So here, wow, I wonder what happened here. You do not need a comma. So here an example is, when John goes to the store, that's a dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence. He wears his mask. And then here, John wears his mask when he goes to the store. So when he goes to the store, when it's in the beginning of the sentence, you need a comma. But when it's at the end, when the dependent clause is at the beginning of the sentence, you need a comma. When the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, you don't need a comma. Except, the exception is when you're using adjective clauses like that, which, who, whose, and whom. And so here you would have, I walk the dog. Let's see. Use a, okay. I will explain this in a, if I say something like, okay, this I'm talking about exceptions with adjective clauses. Okay, Jack, who is French, speaks French. You're going to see not one comma, you're going to see two commas. So when you have adjective clauses, who is French is a clause that describes Jack. Okay, so therefore when you have an adjective clause or a clause that acts like an adjective, then you have to have two of these commas. And you can, so that's like similar to an appositive. When you are identifying something that's important in a sentence, all right, something that's, and then if it's not important, so that's why it needs two. But if I say something like, the table is made, the table which is antique is made of wood. The wooden table, I can't remember it. But here you would have the table which is antique. Also, you have a comma over here, and you have a comma over here. Why? Because this is a adjective clause, antique table. So when the adjective clause comes at the beginning of the sentence and the adjective clause describes the noun, then you have to have two commas. We're going to go over this a lot more detail with the quiz, but I just want to throw it out there so you know that if it's just a dependent clause, then you just use one comma. And then in the beginning, and then when the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, you don't use a comma. Then when you're using things like that, which, who, whose, and whom, and you're describing something, then you have to use two commas if it comes at the if the description or the adjective clause comes at the beginning of a sentence. Is everybody? This is just an introduction. Everybody got it so far? The introduction, is more to it. Okay. All right. So here when you have adverbs of clauses of time. So here you have a simple sentence. I walk the dog. Here you have a subject, a verb, and an object. That's called a simple sentence. We're going to go over that next time. But anyway, so I'm going to review. I chew gum while I walk the dog. Why is there no comma over here? We just went over this rule. Why is there no comma in this sentence?
Because while I walk the dog is at the end of the sentence.
Good. Why is there a comma in this one? Mavel. What is the position of the dependent clause? Why is there a comma there? Anybody can help Mavel?
Because while I walk the dog is at the beginning. It's at the dependent
Exactly.
it's at the start.
And when I walk the dog, is that a complete sentence or a sentence fragment?
It's fragment.
It's a fragment. Okay. So when I chew gum, and so when I put a dependent clause and an independent clause together as one sentence, that's known as a complex sentence. We're going to study the three kinds of sentences in week 7 in a lot more detail. In this quiz, we're just focusing on where to put the commas. That's the difference between this quiz and the next quiz. The next quiz we're going to study the structure of the sentences, but this quiz we want to learn about where to put the commas with the sentence structure. So here, while I chew gum, here you put it's a complex sentence because you have a dependent clause and an independent clause. You put the two together and it's a complex sentence. And you can't have one without the other, because as soon as you have a subordinating conjunction, while, since, that's what makes the sentence incomplete, is when you put a support. That's why you have the word subordinating. It subordinates one sentence to the other, okay? Since I became a nurse, I feel fulfilled. While I was growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. Now notice, what you can do with, you can reduce your adjective, your dependent clause. While I was growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. While growing up, comma, I always wanted to be a nurse. Growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. This is all the same thing. All this is coming from while I was growing up, because this is what's called a reduced adjective clause, because you can take out the I was, you can take out the whole while I was and end up with growing up. And this occurred because of the way people talk, that as language evolved, people became lazier and lazier. The correct way is saying, while I was growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. That's the most correct way to speak, and that's also the most formal tone of English. Then when people want to go talk with their friends, they cut out all the half the words and go, yeah, growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. When you're talking to your boss, you would say, while I was growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. So if you want to sound more formal, more, correct, you want to use the whole adjective clause. And if you're just hanging around with friends, you could say, growing up, I always wanted to be a nurse. You do sound, and that's how you sound conversational, okay, is when you cut out the words. But what's important in this quiz is that you still have to have a comma when you have a introductory. These become known as reduced adjective clauses and also known as introductory phrases, okay? And so when you have an introductory phrase at the beginning of a sentence, and there are many different kinds of introductory phrases. This is just one kind of introductory phrases. So you can Google, there's many, I'm not gonna go over all the different phrases. A phrase versus a clause. In a clause, you have a subject and a verb. In a phrase, you do not have a subject and a verb. So when I say phrase and clause, it's two different things. Is everybody clear on the difference between a phrase and a clause? Yeah, okay. So this is a dependent clause. This is a dependent phrase and an adjective phrase, okay? So when you have an introductory phrase, you have to have a comma. So it's all the same thing, is that when this dependent clause or phrase is at the beginning of a sentence, you have to put a comma there. As a nurse, I have a job with benefits. This is a job. A meaning one. Anyway, so you have to have, as a, you need to have a comma. When I walk the dog, I chew gum. I'm not sure why this is wrong. Isn't this the same sentence? I must have been showing some point, okay? It's more like, when I walk the dog, I chew gum. So that's incorrect. This becomes a run-on sentence. A run-on sentence is when you're missing punctuation. I chew gum when I walk the dog. This is a correct sentence because here you have the dependent clause at the end of the sentence. No comma is needed because here you have the dependent clause at the end of a sentence. Now here is your quiz question. I'm going to put all the quiz questions together. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. When Karen's mother returned to college this year, the entire family had to help out with the housework. Where is the missing comma? There is no missing comma. I corrected this from the previous class. Okay, it's supposed to look like that. Okay, when Karen's mother returned to college, this is how your quiz will look. It's going to look incorrect. When Karen's mother returned to college this year, the entire family had to help out with the housework. Where is the missing comma? Anybody?
Well, you just removed it. So.
I know, because the last time I taught the class, I put the comma there to show the class. Now this is the correct way to do the sentence. And then for this class, I forgot to do it. So that means when I sent you the lecture notes yesterday, everyone's going to go, what? Like that. Okay, so I'm going to send these lecture notes instead. Okay, so when Karen's mother returned to college this year, comma, the entire family had to help out with the housework. So obviously the missing comma was over here because here you have the dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence. After the dependent clause ends, this is what I did for the last class. Then I left it like that and forgot to take it out for you guys. Okay, so now you know. So which one is it, A, B, or C? Where do you put the missing comma?
So,
After a year, yeah. And because that's where the dependent clause ends. And so when the dependent clause ends, that's where you put the comma. And then it's called a complex sentence when it's correct. So I'm going to leave it alone. So here does anyone have any questions? So now I'm going to go over more about the exceptions. Remember how I said that if you have an adjective clause, John, who is French, needs 2 commas, while when I go to sleep, I snore, that only needs 1 comma. So the difference between 2 commas and 1 comma. So the 1 comma rule, I will, where is it? Okay, the 1 comma rule, I will rewrite it. So 1 comma rule. So when a dependent clause is at the beginning of a sentence, you use a comma. And when it is at the end, we do not need a comma. Okay, so that's the basic rule for this whole thing, okay? That's all you're supposed to learn, is that when the dependent clause is at the beginning of the sentence, you need a comma. At the end of the sentence, no comma. Everybody got that straight? That's pretty straightforward. Now, some exceptions to the rule is when you have relative clauses. So when you have relative clauses, same thing as adjective clauses. So relative clauses, also known as adjective clauses, modifies the noun it describes. If the adjective clause is located in the middle of the sentence or at the beginning of the sentence, you use 2 commas, just like you would in a positive. So if the relative clause is located at the end of the sentence, you use 1 comma. That's how it's different from these, okay? In this one, the dependent clause, if it's at the end of the sentence, then you have no commas. In this one, if the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, you use 1 comma. And the difference is that the subordinating conjunctions in this case are, and this only works with that, which, who, and whose. All other subordinating conjunctions like while and after all go on this rule, okay? So this particular rule only works with that, which, who, and whose, because these are known as adjective clauses which describe the noun. It's a clause that describes a noun. And so here, when we use so then before I go any further, everybody get that? The difference between adjective, relative clauses, and regular dependent clauses. What is the difference between an adjective clause rule for commas and the regular dependent clause rule for commas? Candace, what's the difference?
Can you repeat that again?
Okay, so when we have a regular dependent clause that's not that, which, who, and whose, what is the comma usage rule? We're not going to be using that, which, who, and whose, but we're using other subordinating conjunctions. What is the comma usage rule?
Sorry, my battery's dying, so it keeps glitching out.
Okay,
I can
Anil.
tell you.
Okay, go ahead, Mabel.
Because when we're using the adjective, we are describing.
Exactly.
Why we have to keep putting
Yes. So it's probably in your language as well. You would say, John, a French doctor, is a very poor doctor. Okay. So what is your first language?
Spanish.
Spanish. So Juan, un hombre que es un bueno doctore, es muy inteligente. In other words, John, who is a good doctor, is very intelligent. So when we use who and which and that, that's when we use the 2 commas. So if the adjective clause is at the beginning of the sentence, it takes 2 commas. The cactus plant, which is sold at high prices, is rare. So here, which is sold at high prices, what does that refer to? This is an adjective clause that refers back to the cactus plant. So then we need 1 comma here and 1 comma here, okay? If the adjective clause is at the end of the sentence, it takes 1 comma. I bought a rare cactus plant, 1 comma, which is sold at high prices. Do you understand that? Because we're using which. So remember, when you have that, which, who, and whose, they have their own set of comma usage rules different from all the other subordinating conjunctions. That's all you have to remember, okay? Is that when you see that, which, who, and whose, it's different, okay? And then that's when you have to learn this. And when you have a relative clause that is not necessary to the comma, then you use commas between the relative clauses. In other words, large cactus plants are being stolen from national parks and protected areas. And that means that, well, okay, I'll go over that later. Okay, I want to go over the quiz question first. Yeah. And so, where do we place the missing commas? Large cactus plants, which now sell for very high prices, are being stolen from national parks and protected areas. So remember that this kind of 2 comma rule is only for that, which, who, and whose. So where do we place the missing comma or commas? That's what that. Yeah, there's 2 commas. Where do we place the 2 commas?
That would be A.
After plants. Yep, after plants. You gotta and I gotta remind me to undo it, because then the other class. Otherwise, the other class is going to go, what? Yes. So after plants and before, it should be after prices. But anyway, okay. So after, so it's A. After plants and after prices. Okay, so here, why is this a correct answer? Because here you have which coming in the middle of a sentence, and you need two commas. Okay, so here's another quiz question. Let's see, what is it? Where is there a missing? Okay, this is correct. Okay, the demonstrators protesting nuclear arms carried signs reading, "Humans have never invented a weapon which they haven't used." Where is there a missing comma?
After weapon.
Where is there a missing comma? Are there any missing commas? Oh, did someone say the right answer?
Yeah, I say after weapon.
Yes, after weapon. Because here you have the dependent clause at the end of the sentence, and you use 1 comma. So let me repeat the, so when the dependent clause comes at the end of the sentence, you use only 1 comma. So here you have the correct sentence, the demonstrators protesting nuclear arms. So here you have 2 commas, okay, because this is a reduced adjective clause. Who are, remember I said that who and are, okay, who are protesting nuclear arms. And it is correct English to actually get rid of who are and just say the demonstrators protesting nuclear arms. That is still considered an adjective, a reduced adjective clause, and still you have to have the 2 commas even if it's a reduced adjective clause. So the demonstrators, 2 commas, protesting nuclear arms, because that's an adjective clause, that protesting, who is protesting nuclear arms? The demonstrators. So that takes 2. Carried signs reading. And then here you have to have a comma here, because that's similar to a dialogue, all right? So that's the dialogue comma. Then you have your beginning quotation mark, and it's got the ending quotation mark. And then it's got the comma over here, because when you have that and which, okay, an adjective clause, one at the end of the sentence, you have 1 comma. Did everybody follow that, or is that too much? Because this has 3 different rules, all in 1 sentence. We just learned all 3 rules, and someone placed it all in 1 sentence. And then they expect you, or we expect, or Fortress College expects you, after you learn these rules, to be able to create these kind of correct sentences also. Instead of saying, the demonstrators protested using nuclear arms, period. They carried signs that said, period. Then they said, instead of having 3 separate sentences, you can correctly combine your sentences together using correct comma usage. Okay, that's what you do in revision. When you finish writing, your essay structure is correct. Then the last step in the writing process is to put some of your simple sentences together so your essay doesn't sound so choppy. All right? I am a nurse. I like to have benefits. I want to have, that's choppy, 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 and then you learn to put certain sentences together so that your essay flows. That's the last, okay. So, oh, and then one other thing I want to bring up is, what is the difference between that and which? What's the difference between that and which? If I say the person that is smart gets good. Oh, not that and which. The person who is smart gets. I'll get to that and which in a second. Good grades, and then the table which is made of wood is old. The table that is made of wood is old. So what is the difference between that and who? And what is the difference between which and that? And so here, if I say, whenever you talk about people, we have to use who. Whenever we talk about things, we always have to use which. And when we use who and which, that is like the most correct English, very formal English. If I want to talk to my friends, then I can use that. So if I'm on a job interview, I want to avoid using that, because then I sound like I'm talking to my friend, my brother, or something like that. You want to always sound more formal. So it's just a difference in tone. And so here, but the comma rules are the same. The person that is smart, okay, you still have to have the two commas. The person who is smart, it's only a difference, the only difference, the same comma rules, but a difference in tone, okay? So that you sound more educated, or British as it were, if you use the who and which, and you sound more American. This is how people around the world think. Informal English is American English, and formal English is British English. So anybody from outside the United States knows this code. You've heard the difference between British and American English? Yeah, he's nodding his head. If you're from, let's say, another country, they'll actually give you a choice to the student. So do you want a tutor that speaks British English, or do you want a tutor that speaks American English? And most parents will say both, because they want their kid to know everything, so he can have an advantage. Anyway, the table that is made of wood is old. So the only difference between who and that, which is that, is in tone. So you still have to have the same rules as when you have an adjective clause at the beginning of a sentence, 2 commas, an adjective clause at the end of the sentence, 1 comma. Is everybody clear on this? Yeah? There's more comma usage to come, so you better be clear on this, because I'm going to whole bunch of new rules. Everybody clear on this? Yes, okay. So, comma usage after coordinating conjunctions. And so when you have a coordinating conjunction, fanboy stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And so when you have 2 sentences joined by fanboys, that's known as a compound sentence, okay? And when you have a compound sentence, you just have to have John is smart, comma, but Mary is stupid. John gets good grades, comma, for he studies hard. Steve eats very little, yet he is overweight. John eats dinner at Steve's house, and he loves to play piano. And so the difference between what is the difference between a compound sentence and a complex sentence? That's for next time. But what makes these sentences different from the other sentences we just did? If I say, here. While John is smart. Mary is stupid. This would be the complex sentence we just did previously. Okay? That is, when you have a dependent clause at the beginning of a sentence, you have a comma, and then you put the dependent clause together with the independent clause, you have a complex sentence. This one is a different kind of sentence. It's known as a compound sentence. And here you have fanboys, yet it's got similar meaning. What is the difference between the two? even though they have such similar meanings?
I think it's because John is smart is a completed sentence.
Yes.
And then we have the bad, and we have to put a comma because we're gonna refer somebody else.
Yeah. So here, when you have a complex
At the end, the
at
dependent
the end.
at the end.
Yeah, so when we have a complex sentence, you have one sentence that's not as important as the other sentence. And so here you have one sentence, while John is smart is not an important sentence. Mary is stupid. Well, John is smart. Mary is stupid. That's how you would read it. Whereas with a compound sentence, you would say, John is smart, but Mary is stupid. Both sentences have equal importance. That's the difference. It's just a difference in style and tone. And so it's up to the writer to decide how he wants the reader to read his essay. Does he want the reader to say, while John is smart? That's not an important sentence, so you put it as a dependent clause. Mary is stupid. Or do you want the reader to read, John is smart, but Mary is stupid? Do you notice the difference in tone? That's the difference between the two compound and complex sentence. But all you have to know for this quiz is that when you have and, for and, nor, but, yet, so, you need to have a comma before for, but, and, no, nor, yet, so. When you have a transition word, John is fat, and then you have to always have a comma after the transition word. John is fat, however, he eats very little. Or you can have John is fat, semicolon, and comma, he eats very little. So here is your quiz question. I had left my wallet on the counter, but the clerk called me at home to say that it was safe. Where is there a missing comma?
After counter.
After counter. Excellent. And so B is the correct answer. So because of, this is a very common essay mistake. Okay, so is everybody clear on all of the comma usage rules? Okay, so I'm going to go on. We're done with commas, okay? Now we're going to do something easy like contractions. When we talk in contractions, we sound very conversational and we sound very like you're talking to a family member. Once again, if you're going to go on a job interview, I would avoid contractions and I would say I am, he is, she is, they are, we are, you are, it is. If you're going to write an academic paper, you also want to avoid writing contractions because contractions are too conversational and it makes it sound like you only know how to write the way you talk. You want to show people that you know proper English, that you're educated, and therefore you want to avoid using contractions. And so a contraction is when people shorten their conversation. I'm a good person. So on your quiz, all they're going to do is they just want you to know the difference between it's and its. So if you have IT apostrophe S, it is a nice day, that's a contraction. The dog wagged its tail. His tail, her tail, yours. Remember the possessive pronouns? It's, his, hers, yours, its. We did this in week 1? What are we, week 5? Week 3. I think that was week 3. So here on the quiz, you would have the difference between you are and your. And you don't say you're crazy to go into the seawater. And you don't say your wallet is filled with money. Okay, so this one is easy. And here, I am sure, is it going to be you, your, or your? Like which one? And here it's you are. And where is the, oh, if he understands the circumstances, he will make the correct choice. So he stands for he will. Okay, and I guess I didn't have a quiz question. I believe the quiz question was something along the line of your wallet is filled with money. So which one is it? You or is it you or your? Oh my goodness, I'm getting tired. It's supposed to be like this. Okay, voila. So which one is it? Is it your, you are, or your wallet is filled with money? This is so easy.
You.
First one or the second one? Is it this one or this one?
Second.
The second one, yes. Okay, so that's easy. Contractions are easy. That's it. When to spell out numbers. Okay, so if we have a long number, let's see, where is the rule? Where is the rule? Okay. Oh, spell out numbers that are fewer than 3 words. Okay, so any number that's fewer than 3 words, you spell it out. So if it's 57, that's only 2 words. So instead of writing the number 57, you're going to write 57, or you're going to write 5. But if you have something like 1,202, you can just write the number. So you spell out numbers that are less than 3 words. Okay? And so here's an example. If I want to say 72, do I write I have 72 shoes, or do I write I have 72 shoes? Okay, so I'm going to put this the number 72, and then here I'm going to write A, and then I'm going to write B. Which one is correct? Is it A or B? I have 72 shoes, or I have 72 shoes. Which is correct?
It's the I have 72 shoes as B. You have to spell it out.
You have to spell it out because it's less than, yes. So spell it out.
Now I'm going to say this rule is different than when I grew up. This rule is different.
Oh, I didn't get to the exceptions yet. Yes, there are exceptions. After first, I teach students the general rule, then we go into exceptions. So spell it out if less, and then you can tell me about what you learned. Spell it out if less than 3 words. There are exceptions, but anyway, we will have the report for you in 72 hours. So 72 can be written as 72. However, we use numbers to show dates, times, addresses, percentages, chapters of books. Then you just write it out. If you want to use percentages, you can write 45%. Okay, so here's an example from your quiz. Select which sentence contains the correct use of numbers. We'll have a report for you in 72 hours. She has $1,345. She has, so which one is correct? We'll have a report for you in 72 hours. She has 1,000, or are they both correct? Are they both correct or incorrect?
They're both correct.
They're both correct, because here, when you have more than 3 numbers, you write out the whole thing. When you have less than 2 words, then you spell it out, 72 hours. However, the exception to this rule is that if you're going to write a date, if you're going to write an address, if you're going to write a percentage, or chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, you should always write out the numbers, the actual numbers, okay? So I wouldn't say 1355 and Franklin Street. You would write out the actual number 1352. So that's the exception. Was that what you were going to say?
No, back in when I was much younger, it used to be like if it was less than anything greater than the number 10, you needed to write it out. Or anything greater than 10, you could type it out 10, like 12, 15, whatever, and then anything less than 10, you had to.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I learned that too. That anything under 10, you can just.
You had to spell it out. 1, 2, 3, 4,
yes,
all that.
Yes,
but anything correct. Greater than 10, you could type it out.
Yeah,
and that used to be the rule way back when.
Oh yeah, way back when. But now they changed it to if it's less than 2 words, fewer than 3 words, then you need to spell it out. So that's basically what it is on this quiz. So here you have, she has 1,345, and I can't find the quiz example. But it might have been this. We will have the report for you in 72 hours, and we will have the report for you in 72 hours. And I believe the quiz asks which one is correct, and then the correct one is this one, because it's less than 2 words. Okay, so less than 3 words, sorry. And that's it for numbers. Anybody else have a question with numbers? All right, abbreviation. Only standard abbreviations are used in academic writing. If it is not standard, then spell it out for clarity. For example, if I'm going to say that I belong to the organization TESOL, so the first time I use the word TESOL, I'm a TESOL member, I have to write it out. So if you're going to write your essay, you don't just say, I intend to be an RN. So the first time you use RN, you have to say registered nurse. Then the rest of the essay, you can write RN. That's the rule. So teaching English, that's what TESOL stands for, Teaching English as a Second Language. So that's an organization that I belong to. So that way, the readers know what the abbreviations stand for. You cannot assume that the reader knows what the, what it stands for. So here's a true or false question from your quiz. Only standard abbreviations should be used in academic writing. If it is not standard, then spell out this phrase for clarity. True or false? When I mean by standard abbreviations, I mean things like everybody knows USA stands for United States of America. That's common knowledge. If something is not common knowledge, you have to spell it out for clarity. And you can't assume everybody knows what you're talking about. That's a common mistake writers make. They assume, so that's why one thing when you write an essay, you have to take into account your audience. Are you writing to an audience of experts? Okay, people who are other nurses, and you can go RN, LN to your heart's content. Or are you writing to the general public? Then you've got to spell everything out. So when you're writing a paper, one important rule that you have to take into account, who are you writing for? When you make a presentation, it's usually a mixture. So you have to do a little mixture of, but that's another topic. But this deals with audience. And so that's why only standard abbreviation should be used. And if it is not standard, that is, if not everybody knows what it is, then you need to spell it out. So this one is true. The answer is true. USC is great. So what does USC stand for? University of Southern California or University of Southern Carolina? Which one is it? Which USC are you talking about? So that's why you've got to spell out US, because there are two USCs. So here, if you're not local to Los Angeles, you might think you're talking about University of Southern Carolina. Okay, so which sentence, this is an actual quiz question. Which sentence contains incorrect abbreviations? So if you use texting, a lot of you, if you use texting, people write something like, you are good. Is you are standard abbreviation, or is that incorrect? Is that standard or incorrect abbreviation?
It's incorrect.
Standard or incorrect? Yes, it is incorrect. It is incorrect. Yes, it is incorrect abbreviation. I should write that down for the people who are just reading the straight lecture. So I will text you the directs to my house later today. And so here, this is the correct answer in which sentence contains incorrect abbreviations. It's this one. So we do not use text messaging spelling in our papers. It is not correct English. And so here you have the FBI distributes a most wanted list. That is correct English because that is standard abbreviation. It's not text. And Dr. Kathleen, PhD, is also standard. It's not text. So they're just saying as soon as you see text messaging, that's not correct English. Okay, that's it. I once had an 8th grader who thought that the word you is spelled by the letter U. So I had to argue with him and say, no, it's not spelled that way. And that's the effect of text messaging. Okay, let's try out the week 5 quiz. The week 5 quiz practice test. Number 1, large cactus plants which now sell for very high prices are being stolen from national parks and protected desert areas. Where is there a missing comma?
B.
B, because here you have an adjective clause that need 2 commas at the beginning of a sentence. Which sentence contains incorrect abbreviation? C.
C.
C. Pick the sentence that puts the quotation marks in the proper place.
So once again, is this question with regards to just the quotation marks or the beautiful mind part as well?
You just have to find the correct sentence. Because the correct sentence will have the quotation marks in the proper place. And I can tell you I didn't write this quiz. I don't know why I'm proud of that though. But anyway, I did write the lecture notes.
So B.
B, yes. So here, this puts the quotation marks in the proper place because it has the title in italics, and then it has a beginning quotation mark and an ending quotation mark. Why is this one wrong? Well, that's because she forgot to put here, because it's not the, in other words, he didn't finish his sentence. He actually, this one's missing something over here. He said, find a truly original idea. It is the only way I can distinguish myself. It is the only way I will ever matter. That was the entire, if you watch the movie, that's entirely what that guy said. It was a beautiful, I think my boyfriend liked it better than I did because he's a mathematician. Okay, did everybody get this one? Okay, number 4, that's so easy. A or B? I am sure going to think.
Oh, it's A. I'm sorry.
It's A. Yes, it's A. You are going to think I'm crazy. Number 5. Which sentence shows proper capitalization? A, B, or C?
B.
C, yes. So here you have the grandchildren show great respect for Grandma Janet. Does everyone get that? Okay. Only standard abbreviation should be used in academic English writing. If it is not standard, then spell out the word or phrase for clarity. True or false? True. My dad's favorite saying is, don't pull tomorrow's cloud over today's sunshine. Where is the missing quotation mark? Before don't, yes. Choose the correct sentence. I can't seem to find the keys. This is the first time you weren't late. If you aren't going to be able to make it, please call.
C.
C, yeah, because all of these are missing the apostrophes. Okay, so that's why that's wrong. And these have words that are just together, which is supposed to be like this, but then autocorrect would correct it. So anyway, so yes, C. Choose the sentence that puts the quotation marks in the proper place. Is it A, B, or C? C, because here you need a beginning quotation mark and an ending quotation mark. Which one shows proper capitalization?
It's A.
It's A, yes, because here you need to capitalize this, and here you need to capitalize that. So B and C are wrong. Which one contains the correct use of numbers?
B.
B. Yeah, I do remember the rule from the less than 10 and more than 10. It's funny, I remember the rules from when I was younger than when I was older. Select the sentence.
I hate that it's all changed because, like I said, I haven't had to do college stuff, or any English stuff since high school, and then my first year in college, and now it's like all different. So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
English is my first language, and you have to change my rules. That's not nice.
That must make the ESL student in the class feel a little better that English can still be hard even for native speakers. Okay, so that's a good that should make misery loves company. Anyway, so we select the sentence that puts the quotation marks in the proper place. So which is the correct sentence? A, B, C, or D?
You are the king? No. The queen?
None of them.
The clown?
Oh, she's talking to her kid. Okay, so yeah, it's none of the above, yes. So Emily Blunt's character in The Devil Wears Prada, that's not right, because in all of this, Devil Wears Prada needs to be italicized. And since in all of these sentences, The Devil Wears Prada is not italicized, none of these are correct. Good. Which sentence shows proper capitalization? A, B, or C?
It's C.
Okay, when Karen's mother returned to college this year, why is there a dash there?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so where is the, and why is it A, D, E, and F when this is supposed to be A, B, and C? A, and B, and C. I have no idea why that occurred. Oh well. Guess I'm going to send these notes out to everybody because this is the more correct one. I thought I caught all the mistakes too when I was looking at it. Anyway, so which is the correct answer? A, B, or C? A, yeah, because why is there a little dash? You're showing off the answer again. Always with this question. I had left my wallet on the store counter, but the clerk called me at home. Where is there a missing comma?
B.
After counter, because of but. Here you have a fanboy, okay? Fanboy. So anytime you have fanboy, for, but, and, nor, so yet, compound sentence, you need a comma. If he understands the circumstances, he's, he'll, or he, make the correct choice.
B.
B, he will make the correct choice. Where are the missing commas? Where is there a missing comma?
Oh, we did that. Weapon. B.
Yes, that's correct. Here, because you have a dependent clause, adjective clause at the end of a sentence, and you need one comma. This is not an easy quiz, you know. Okay, because there's so many rules to remember. So when you have an adjective clause at the end of a sentence, you need one comma. Okay, so just remember who, whose, which, and that has two commas when it's at the beginning of the sentence, one comma at the end of the sentence. Just for those only. Okay, which is correct? Which has correct? Which shows proper capitalization?
None.
None. Yeah, I was looking through it. You did it faster than me. None of the above. Yeah. Why? Because here French is not capitalized. Russia is not capitalized. This one, Emperor Napoleon I is not capitalized. Here, the same thing. Emperor Napoleon I is not capitalized. French is not capitalized. So the answer is none of the above. Okay. Pick the sentence that puts the quotation marks in the proper place. Which is correct? That's easy. If you look at the, I'm not going to tell you.
So, I mean, in this question again, the question asks for the quotation marks, but the beautiful mind is not italicized. So
Yeah, go figure. So anyway, it becomes none of the above because here you have a beautiful mind. And okay, now I remember why this is find the correct sentence. I'm gonna have to take a look at the quiz. I think that the quiz, there was a change in the quiz, and I might not have picked up on this part of it. So this might be pick the correct sentence instead. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look this up. I thought I did this. Pick the correct sentence. Well, anyway, that's the part I don't remember. All I know is that they're all incorrect because you have to have a beautiful mind has to be italicized, and because all of these don't have it italicized, then none of these sentences are correct. Okay, so it's not where before this quiz was slightly different, and they changed the quiz and used to be something else, and I didn't correct it from the before, so I apologize for that. But the answer is D, none of the above, because a beautiful mind needs to be italicized. That should do it for if you see any if you have any questions after you take the quiz. If you have any questions about why you got it wrong or whatever, kind of like why do you put the quotation mark in the proper place, you can always email me and I can take a look at it, and then I could take a look and see if there are any mistakes in the quiz, okay? So that I can fix what I have and fix what they have, because originally they were, you're not supposed to know that, there were mistakes in the quiz. Anyway, just know that all these sentences are wrong because it's not italicized. That's all you need to remember. It doesn't really matter what the quiz was like before. Just remember, when you have a title, it's got to be italicized. And then that makes none of these sentences correct. And that's all you've got to remember, because that's all that's important in the long run. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want to go over this again?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute. All right. All right, so everyone's gone over this, and usually at this point people drop off if they think they're good at their writing, and people can say, okay, that's it for me, I'm going to go off to, whatever. Usually this is the drop-off point where people start disappearing. Anyway, the rest of this, I'm done with quiz review. I'm just going to go over for next week's peer review. Since you were there for my peer review PowerPoint, here are some questions that you would say, John's does the paper, you would answer these questions for the peer review, all right? In which you look over other people's paper and you give the actionable feedback to the other student so they can improve their writing grade. And so here you would say, does the paper have a thesis statement? Does the paper thesis statement have 3 reasons? Do the 3 reasons become the body paragraphs? Do the topic sentences and body paragraphs relate back to the thesis? Is the thesis the last sentence of the first paragraph? So you can use all of these questions as a kind of checklist as you read over that person's paper, and you would say, you look at that paper and you would say, well, he has a thesis statement. Oh yeah, it's got 3 reasons. Does it have body paragraphs that match the 3 reasons? Yes. So use this as a checklist, and if something is missing, you could say, John, you don't have a thesis statement, or your thesis statement lacks 3 reasons. Your topic sentences don't match your thesis. You need to repeat your thesis as the first sentence of the last paragraph. Your paragraphs are too long and short, because each paragraph needs to have 5 to 7 sentences. So you can use this as your checklist of what to look for in other people's papers. And if you want to know more about peer review, you can go to my What is a Peer Review lecture from the previous lecture. And then here I want to go over pie structure. Okay, so some of you, if you want to try out in-text citations, okay, and I went over this with Anil last week. So how many in-text citations? What is an in-text citation? I'm going to go over APA. So an in-text citation is when you use APA and to back up what you say. Because basically when you write an essay, you're making a claim and then you want to back that up with credible evidence. And credible evidence is when you take statistics, when you take medical facts, when you take historical facts from other sources to back up what you say. Now a lot of students, and so I use pie structure. What is pie structure? That means that you use only 1 in-text citation per paragraph. So P stands for you take the main point from the thesis statement. Then you have your 1 in-text citation, that's the I, and then E is the explanation of that in-text citation in 5 sentences. So here is an example of a pie structure body paragraph. So the thesis statement is smoking causes lung cancer, throat cancer, and stomach cancer. And so here you would have smoking causes lung cancer. So that's the main point from the thesis statement. Then you have your 1 in-text citation. 70% of smokers die of lung cancer. Then you have to have your author, your date, and your page number. And then E, explanation of that in 5 sentences. Now explain in 5 sentences your in-text citation. The majority of the smokers die young of lung cancer. Lung cancer is preventable if you do not give in to peer pressure and begin smoking young. The chances of you getting lung cancer is slimmer if you do not smoke. Betty started smoking at the age of 15. She started coughing a lot in the wintertime. By the time her doctors discovered her lung cancer, it was too late. Betty regrets her decision to smoke as a teenager just because it looked cool. So you can use facts to explain your in-text citation, or you can use case studies of actual people for your 5-sentence explanation of your in-text citation. And so here is a short APA lecture. APA stands for American Psychological Association. When you make a direct quote, that means that you say it word per word. Then you need to have the author's name, the date, and the page number. And then you have many different ways of saying it. You would say Smith states, or Smith 2009 states. Or you can write the quotation and then write Smith 2009 and page number. When you have a paraphrase quote, this means that you summarize the author's point in your own words. For a paraphrase quote, you do not need quotation marks. You also do not need a page number. And so you just need to have the author's name and 2009. And so here are some ways of saying says. So if I say Dr. Smith says, that's too boring. So if you want to say Dr. Smith notes, believes, observes, comments, relates, declares, remarks, these are known as signal phrase verbs. And you can get your own list of signal phrase verbs when you Google signal phrase verbs. So you should Google and get your own signal phrase verbs, transition words, subordinating conjunctions. So if you have those lists in front of you, A, you'll have correct comma usage, and B, you won't say says and says all the time, and C, when you go from sentence to sentence, you can transition. Instead of saying but all the time, you would say however, in other words, and that sort of thing. So you should have those three lists in front of you while you are writing your paper. You can Google all of that. Google's wonderful for that. Okay? So if you disagree, so Dr. Smith disagrees that, rejects, argues, compares, asserts. So these are also other ways of saying says or states when you write your in-text citation. Then at the end of your paper, you need to write your reference citation. You have to use hanging left indent. That means that the first line is all the way to the edge, and then the second line is what's indented. This is a total opposite of what you do when you write a paragraph. In a paragraph, you indent 5 spaces, and everything else is left justified. So this is known as left hanging indent. And so you're going to notice that here you have the author's name, the date, and then here you have to have in italicized your article title. And this person has it wrong because this is supposed to be a big P, and this should be a big P also. Any letters in a title has to be capitalized. Anyway, so this is italicized. Then you write what edition, American Psychological Association, and then here. So that's an example of a reference citation. And here is how you do a hanging left indent. Okay, and you can look that up. And so one other thing is when we do pre-writing, we write an outline. So this is, I want to travel the world, I want to help people and get a steady job. So this is the thesis statement, main idea. Then you have your one body paragraph, I want to travel the world. Then another paragraph, body paragraph, I want to help people. I want to get job with benefits. So this is pre-writing, and then you're going to turn all of this into a 5-paragraph essay structure where you're going to indent 5 spaces, the first line of every paragraph. Why did my voice suddenly become loud? Because everybody does it this way. Oops. Everybody does it. Wow, what's wrong with this computer? Everybody does it this way. And it's supposed to be, and everybody has it wrong. So you always got to indent 5 spaces, the first line of every paragraph. And you got to make sure to double space your paper. And we double space by we select and we go Control 1. Ooh, everything is single spaced. Now we select, go Control 2. Everything is double spaced. So that is how we double space a paper. So I'll do it again. Control 1, I do it at the same time. And then everything becomes single spaced. And then Control 2, everything is double spaced. So you need to have double space for your paper. Now when you upload it to the Week 5 forum, it's okay if it's single spaced because the forum can't seem to differentiate. But when you do your final draft and hand in your final draft assignment, and when you hand in your Week 4 rough draft, then you should have it double spaced, okay? Because that's part of the APA rules, okay? So here is how you write it out and you can read that on your own, okay? And that's it. This is another, this is an example, another example of pie structure. I became a nurse to help people, and then I have one in-text citation. Nursing is a highly respected field with high job satisfaction. And then you have 5 sentences that explain that in-text citation. So if you want to try out using an in-text citation, just Google benefits of nursing, and you'll get plenty of quotes you can use for your in-text citation for your essay 1. But for essay 1, this is only voluntary. For essay 2, you're going to have to be able to know how to do pie structure. So you can try it out if you want to challenge yourself. Here is how it would look, your references at the end of your paper, okay? And that is it. And that's the end of this assignment. And so week 4, you only have one assignment, and that is to hand in your week 4 rough draft for essay 1. And then if you have any questions, you can always email me. And that's it for this. That's it for this session. It's really long, the quiz. I think it's the comma usage section that confuses people the most. And so that's where everybody gets confused. All you got to remember is that when you have that, whose, and who, there's a whole different set of rules. Just for those 5 words when it comes to dependent clauses. All other dependent clauses like while, after, as he was driving down the street, he ran over a cat. That has the same rule as dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence, a comma, and then there are 30, 40, 50, 60 subordinating conjunctions that follow that same rule. And it's only that, whose, and who, and whom, adjective clauses that follow a different set of rules where you have 2 commas at the beginning of the sentence and then 1 comma at the end. Only for those 5. That's the easy way to remember that. Otherwise, you just get so confused. And then second set of rules, third set of rules is fanboys, always for and but, or, nor, so, yet, you need a comma. And then you're done. For general usage, because that's the part that people go, what? And that's why I recommend that people Google their own list of subordinating conjunctions so that someday you know it automatically, okay? So you should have your own list of subordinating conjunctions, your own list of transition words, and your own list of, what was the other one? Relative clauses. Oh, signal phrase words, okay? That way you can have variety, and also you should get a Roget's thesaurus, so you can learn more English, make your English more vocabulary. A Roget's thesaurus. I remember learning about that in, and they also have a thesaurus online, also. So, any other questions? If you have no more questions, I'm actually done with this week's. A lot of people. I see. Did you notice the big Zoom fatigue? Everybody left almost after because people can only pay attention about 20 minutes. When I watch other people's hour-long Zooms, I only watch it at 10-minute intervals. I really do. 10 minutes, and I go off and vacuum. Another 10 minutes, and then I go off and eat. Another 10 minutes. It takes me several days to watch somebody else's 1-hour Zoom, whatever it is I'm learning. So I don't expect you to. Yes.
I have a question. Excuse me. I just have a question for today. Do you want? We have the first forum today. And
well, there are no forums today. There are no forums this week. Yeah.
This week.
Right. Next week, week 5. This week, only week 4 rough draft assignment. You just have to hand in your rough draft. That's all you do this week.
The rough draft, I mean?
Yeah, just hand in your rough draft. Hand in your paper. Hand in your paper for this week.
Okay.
Yes. Hand in your essay 1 for this week. Okay?
Essay 1?
Essay 1, like, I became a nurse because, or whatever it was you chose for your topic.
Okay.
Okay.
Immigrant. I did the immigrants.
Oh, the immigrants bring great value to this country. Okay, that's a good one. And so you can hand that in this week, yes. And
Okay.
make sure it's all correct. And double spaced, paragraphs, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
And good grammar.
Okay,
You
sounds
can have
good.
someone else look it over to make sure it's good grammar.
Yes, I will.
Like a native speaker or something like that. Someone you know, right?
Okay. And do you want we add the dialogue? Dialogue? A dialogue?
Dialogue. Yes, that's part of this it's on the rubric. So you need to add dialogue. Yes, that's
Okay.
part of the
Okay.
rubric.
Thank
How do you look if you want to know what the expectations are, just look at the rubric. Every assignment has a rubric, and if you follow the rubric, 10 points for dialogue, 10 points if you have clear topic sentences, another 10 points because that's what I use. That's given to me by the school, okay? So every English teacher has to use the same rubric and grade the same way. And that's why you just have to follow the rubric and you're doing what everybody else in the school is doing. And it's everybody that's taking an English class, you see. So some designer came up with that rubric. So that means that's what the school wants. Which means what the school wants, the school gets. That's a good mean. If you want your degree, that is. So, do you have any other questions?
I have questions with regards to the corrections on my assignments because I was going to do it again. Okay.
Okay.
So let me go to my assignment really quick.
Oh, and so, Mavel, do you have any other questions? Okay, she doesn't have any more questions, so she can. So you can see me for next week, and you can leave if you want to. Anytime you want, you could stay. It's up to you. Okay.
No, I just have a few questions with regards to improving my
Sure.
thing. So because I thought it was due last Sunday, so I sent it to you. You know.
Oh.
Yeah. So you did correct it. So on the corrections, because I was trying to see how to, get that better. So I got the from the earlier correction. So
You're
I
not
got
entering your grade because this is still, remember, this is still public. So
yeah.
that's why I can't go into your grading thing because I will just show the numbers, and then also this goes to YouTube. It also goes public. So
Yeah.
same thing, same idea, privacy. So you can't say numbers, you can't say, but you could say, oh, I don't have a thesis statement. How do I do that again? You could say
Correct.
stuff like that.
That's the part I wanted to know. So I got the thesis statement at the end on the
Right.
so I got that part correct. But then on the second portion of that, where the paragraph 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So am I supposed to add the specific wording from the thesis statement as the first sentence
Yes, correct.
of each paragraph?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of the rubric that says topic sentence relates back to the thesis.
Okay.
20
So
points or whatever.
so
10 numbers.
out of the 3 paragraphs, the main body, okay, one of them did have
Yes, yeah,
the
one of
one-
them, you did do one of them correctly, yeah. And then the
Right.
other two, I think it was the middle one, and I think it was the first and third one that you needed to add.
exactly,
I forget what it said. I just
No,
remember the
you're absolutely correct on that one. So I had not read that and I wasn't sure about it.
And
So
also, you need to restate the thesis. I don't remember if you did that as the
On-
first sentence of the last paragraph.
of the
I don't-
conclusion, yes, I need to restate that. Okay, so since it is due again on Sunday, if I redo it, does that help me at all or not?
Yes, it
It
does.
does. Okay,
Yes.
I am going to redo it and send it to you. And now I'm a little unsure about adding the citation. So does
So that's that you can try do it. You could try it out, do it this time, just so you can practice doing it. And that way, if you practice doing it this time, it doesn't really count for anything this time, but it will count for next time. That way, next time it's so easy because you've already done it already.
so?
That's what
But you
I-
only want one citation, right?
You
It
can have
doesn't
3, you can have 2. It's a minimum of 1. But
Okay.
you can have 3 if you want.
Okay, and on the
But
side
but you only use 1 citation per
per
paragraph.
paragraph, right?
Yes, so
Exactly.
maximum of 3 in your because you can't add a citation in your conclusion. We don't add new information in the conclusion because we're summarizing and closing up. So you can have a maximum of 4 citations, in-text citations, in other words, you could have one in your introduction, and you could have one each in your 3 body paragraphs if you want to do it that way.
Okay,
So
I am going to.
4 maximum and 1 minimum.
Okay.
None in your conclusion.
Perfect. No, I want, because I mean, obviously I want to improve the writing and my grade. So I wanted to make sure I'm doing the right things here.
Well, a lot of these rules also apply to business writing, email, as well as science papers. A lot of these rules do transfer over to everything else. It's just slightly different and a lot more concise. And also, another difference is that when you write something in business, your conclusion is not simply a summary, it's a call to action. Buy my product, or come to my store, or whatever it is why you're writing your business. Invest in my whatever, that kind of stuff. In other words, you're making money. So buy me. No, that's the difference. That's the difference. It's in the conclusion in a business, but everything else is similar. Very, very. And instead of having 3 body paragraphs, a business letter typically has 1 body paragraph. And
right, exactly.
Usually a 3 paragraph at the longest.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what I'll go over in my business communications, because I used to teach an entire business communications class of several weeks. And now I got to condense an 8-10 week class into 1 PowerPoint. So that's what I.
We are going to do that?
No.
Oh,
I did it because I wanted to add to it, because it's like what you're going to see in the workplace, even though it's not in your Langen book. But I did provide a book that other teachers, English teachers, use for their nursing students that does contain how to write a science paper as 1 chapter, how to write a business, how different kinds of business letters in other chapters, as well as different kinds of essays. Just, in other words, it adds to what the Langen book. So this 1 big book, and I think I posted it to your announcements. If not, you're gonna have to remind me to repost it.
Otherwise, I mean, I am subscribed to your YouTube channel too. I'm sure I can find it somewhere there too, if you've already done it.
Oh no, I would have put it into the announcements.
Okay, I'll check the announcements.
Because my YouTube channel only has my videos, but not my books. You see.
Okay, all right. And then when I'm looking at the notes from you, it says that
Go ahead.
Can I read the notes you have? Is that
Sure.
okay? Okay.
Sure.
So it said that you lost points because your topic sentences do not fully relate back to your thesis.
Correct.
Is that what you meant by
Yes.
saying that the first sentence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, because I wasn't completely sure as to what you
Yes.
meant there. Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to.
That is that was the most common mistake, by the way. Not just you.
Okay.
Everybody. That's why I was typing it out. Okay, that one, he made that mistake. She made that mistake. They made that mistake. I would get to the point where every other person was doing the same thing.
Right.
Not the only one that writes that way.
Yeah, no, I wasn't exactly sure about that portion, so I need to redo that portion as well. And do you? So
I
we're gonna
was
add.
going to say, once you master this style of writing, then you can not within this class, but in your professional life. Once you master the different styles of writing, then you can mix and match. You can put your thesis statement at the end of an essay, for instance. You can put your thesis statement in the middle of an essay. Once you learn the styles, then you can move your thesis statement around, and then you become what they call a master writer. Right now, we are at the beginning stage, because we still haven't learned the 8 different structures. And without knowing all the different structures, you won't know what to mix and match.
Right,
People are gonna go,
exactly.
huh? So if I did a whole video on my writing channel about different kinds of essays. That's a supplement to your week 3 interactive lecture. And so it's 40 minutes long, so you can watch it at different intervals. But I go over different kinds of essays and different kinds of styles that you can write. But we're only doing 2 different essays in this class. We're missing six others. So you can look over the other 6 styles, such as process essay, cause and effect essay, problem solution. So you can, and also you could just, it's probably faster if you just look through the.
I looked at your PowerPoint on
The
that.
PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is faster because you can click, 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 click. I find it easier to read. I read faster than I can listen to someone's video.
Right. No, I did watch your PowerPoint on that because we were talking about the flow charts as well. So I did look at all the stuff you sent to me on that.
Was that very basic and easy?
Yeah, it was very helpful actually. So because
It also represents 8 different ways in which you can write your thesis statement as well.
Right.
It's not just 8 different ways of essay writing, it's also 8 different ways of outlining, 8 different ways of thesis statements, 8 different ways to logically think about a topic, 8 different ways in which you can explain a topic, you know?
right.
So,
Right,
sort of.
exactly. No, so going back to my rough draft again. So it'll be better if, and you said it's the Control 2, right? That double
Yes.
spaces
You have
it.
to you have to select the text, then Control 2. Press
Okay.
Control, then press 2 at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. So let me actually do this. So you want citations, and then spacing, and all body paragraphs must have the first sentence that relates back to the thesis.
Yes, that's what you lost points for, yeah.
So body paragraph to relate to
Get how many
thesis,
points, though?
and then also thesis again in conclusion.
Yes. You can Google summary conclusion to
Okay.
that summary conclusion paragraph, and you can Google funnel introduction paragraph if you want to read more about why the thesis statement is at the beginning of the conclusion and why the thesis statement is at the end of the introduction.
So
That's-
Google summary conclusion. What's the other one you said?
Google funnel introduction paragraph.
Funnel introduction.
Paragraph, yeah. It's like an upside down triangle. Because it's general, the introduction starts out general, and then you have your thesis at the end, it becomes specific.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think I have that because I bought these things. There's a website called quickstudy.com.
Yes, I have
Okay.
that stuff too.
Yeah, so I got the writing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that too.
Yeah, so while I was doing my essay, I was using the writing process format plus, there's
Yeah, I used a lot of for my dangling modifier lecture, I use a lot of stuff from that. That's for the week 7, I think, week 7 quiz. I took a lot of stuff off of that.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, yeah, I went through all of this. So, because you talked about the
But we haven't done dangling modifiers yet. That's next time.
Yeah, you talked about the sandwich thing on before. This one has the Hamburger Method. So.
Oh yeah, I have the hamburger in the I have hamburger as a paragraph, and I have a hamburger as an essay. When I was teaching kids, they loved those pictures. So I remember I had a little kid who actually had a hamburger, and he goes, "Hey teacher, look, my essay is my hamburger." He just took it literally, and he memorized. This is introduction, my bun. Watch me eat my introduction. And he actually ate the introduction. Now I'm going to eat the body paragraph. And he ate, anyway, it was very cute. But he was a great writer, he learned it. And he goes, I learned from eating. And I told my mother, I learned with my hamburger to write. And then the mother came in saying, what? That kind of stuff. But it was funny.
Awesome.
I don't know if you noticed, but I used to teach elementary school.
Yeah, I've noticed you talk about that, so I kind of guessed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss it. But anyway, any other questions?
Perfect. No, everything else is good. I just need to redo that so I can get a better grade.
That's the whole thing about the writing process.
Yeah.
Is instead of just writing it once, that's product. You write it as a process where each successive draft gets better and better. So if you want to look up product writing versus writing process, then you get the idea. The old way of teaching writing was you just turn in your paper and get a grade. That's it.
Right.
The new way of teaching is you write many, many drafts about the same thing and do it better and better and better.
Correct. Exactly.
So that's new. When they say new, that means from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then before the 70s, it was the product way of doing it. In other words, the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So this is and then the newest way is also combining technology you see. It's called multimodal composition writing. And you want to teach people how to do a blog, you teach people how to write for social media, and that's the newest twist to writing, to teaching writing, that they don't cover here, but they do have classes called multimodal composition writing. That's just mainly learning how to write for the web.
Oh, okay.
That's new. That's new. Others, this school, I don't know if you have that here or not. I don't think so. If
No, I don't think we do.
if they did, I would be teaching it. I mean, they would
That would
assign it to me. They would assign me all the writing classes.
Yeah.
So in this school, this is the only writing class. So this is that I get assigned. So that's how I know this is the only writing class.
And I did get your Chinese New Year email too.
新年快乐，恭喜发财, and that means Happy Chinese New Year, and may you have prosperity throughout the new year. And of course, for the Spock people, it's live long and prosper.
No, I did reply you back with the Kung Fa Chai.
Yeah, gong qi. I knew you would know what that is because you were raised in.
Yeah, I lived in
Okay,
Malaysia,
So you know all about Chinese New Year, growing up, and all that kind of stuff.
all we did on Chinese New Year was drink brandy and gamble. That's it.
Well, when I was a kid, so we had those red envelopes, and with money,
Yes.
and then
Do
we
you-
also would eat a lot.
The moon pie is not on Chinese New Year, is
No,
it?
that's a moon festival.
That's
in
the moon
October.
festival,
That's the
right?
harvest. That's harvest festival.
That's-
That's when everybody harvests their crops.
I used to love those moon pies. They were so awesome.
Well, if you had my class in October, I would have said Happy Harvest, and then everybody, and I have all these Bitmojis eating their moon pies.
Yeah.
But,
I remember
anyway.
those.
Any
Okay.
other questions?
No, I think that's it. So I'm just gonna redo the assignment and send it to you before Sunday,
I'm sure you'll get a straight A.
so you can.
You'll
Okay.
be a straight A student. The
All
more questions you ask, the more A the student becomes.
Yeah,
And that
I
sort of thing.
yep.
That's
I
usually
just
how it
wanna I
works.
just wanna make sure I'm covering all my mistakes. So
Believe it or not, that's so hardworking of you. That's good. That's a good thing. It's good to be hardworking and good to be curious. That's one of the things they have in our book. You know, build curiosity. It's called enticing hard-to-reach writers. So one of the tips for teachers is you've got to build curiosity. If the student is not curious about writing for whatever reason, then it's the teacher's job to build that curiosity, get them interested, and then have them ask a lot of questions. That's how they learn. That was one of the tips in the book. So
yeah, no, that's
one
great.
of our requirements as a teacher is we got to read those kind of books every year.
I actually just picked up this little book. I have it right here. In fact, since I'm doing a lot of Zoom meetings and meeting up with a lot of different people, so I picked up this little treasure. Where did it go?
See, I don't even know where I put the quick study. Oh, it's on my bookshelf. Yeah.
Look at this.
Body Language 101.
Yeah, so it talks to you about if you're in meetings, whether it's an online meeting, whether you're sitting with somebody, how they're behaving, how they're moving things. It's a really, really awesome book.
Ooh, I think I'll take a look at that. That would be
Yeah.
great for professional development. I could tell all the
Exactly.
other teachers.
It's Body
Everyone's got to do
Language.
Zoom.
Yeah, Body Language by David Lambert.
Yep, and it's westernized. So if people in Asia want to know how to conduct a Zoom meeting so that Westerners can understand what's what,
Yeah.
they would read that book. And then the other way around is if you want to deal with Asian businessmen, then you've got to read their book on body language. Like you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
look directly in the eye or whatever. You don't readily smile all the time. You only smile and laugh with people you truly love. That's very European, actually, also. It's only in America that you just smile at everybody. You know, that's very American. In other countries, you have to teach people in a McDonald's. Let's say if the McDonald's is in China, you have to teach the workers to smile at everybody. It doesn't come
Yeah.
naturally. The same
No,
thing in Europe.
Yeah, and you were talking about British English and American English. See, when I was growing up, I did my O levels and A levels. Okay, so which is all, through the University of London. So when I came to the United States, one of the biggest problem that I had schooling was my spellings. Because
Yes.
everything is spelled different. I mean, neighbor is O-U-R at the end, and then words being used, like in the US, if you write a check, you can put C-H-E-C-K. In British English, it's C-H-E-Q-U-E. Otherwise, it means completely different.
Set in checker, because the British got a lot of their spelling from Latin. It's because they're so close to France. And so that's why labour, L-A-B-O-U-R, ooh.
Yeah.
And then it gets shortened out here because we're so far away from that.
Yeah.
It got shortened to labor. So that's what happened.
Correct.
Same thing with Canadian French and Paris French, Canadian. So, it's all that distance stuff. So that's why, and I remember also driving on the left side of the road and the right side of the road.
Right hand, right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know why. My cousin lives in England, so he knows all that. And also when he talks, I remember he said something that I didn't understand. Oh, we all have to queue up at the grocery store now because of the pandemic. And then one of my cousins said, queue up? What queue? What do you mean? You mean like the one from Star Trek, Q? He was thinking, when you said that, it came out of nowhere. And then another cousin then said, he means line up, Q.
Yeah, exactly.
You're thinking Star Trek, that's a different Q. Everyone laughed. Because everyone else understood what he meant. And he was the only one going, Q? Oh, you mean the Q from Star Trek? Oh, that actually was very funny. So yeah, Zoom meetings include people from like England, China, and the time zone difference. Oh my gosh. As you look across the screen, early morning in California, then noon time in on the eastern seaboard, which is the middle of the screen, and then on the far end is Taiwan, where people are barely trying to stay awake because it's midnight over there. And they're trying to stay, alert. As you say, Albert, are you awake? Yes, of course, I'm awake now. So and at the very end, you got people just waking up going, oh, I'm having my coffee, yeah. What did you just say? It's only the people in the middle that are very active, because the people in the middle on the East Coast in London, it's 4 p.m. there, so they're yak, 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 yak. And then it's 11:30 p.m., they're yak, 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 yak. And at the very end of my screen, people waking up and people trying to stay awake. And you see the sun. And the interesting thing, you get to see the sun. Everyone has a window, and so and you can see the sun at its different angles. That's fascinating.
That's awesome. Yep.
That's fascinating. So I know that you're in the United States because I could see the sun behind you, but I'm using a background so you can't really tell. But anyway,
I live in Utah.
Anyway, so any other questions?
No, thank you. Thank you for taking out the time. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, well, I'll see you next week, okay?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
All right, take